Hey there superstars, Dolly Rostar here to remind you that the map is not the territory, the menu is not the meal. So, want to come on an adventure through some, direction points on maps that might be interesting things going with this juicy landscape and find us some good eating. So yeah, this is inspired by an experience I've had recently and something that my old undoing teacher used to say that always kind of got inside me in both a positive and a negative way, and that was pain is inevitable but suffering is optional, or variations on that theme. The map is not the territory, the menu's not the meal. The map is not the territory, the menu's not the meal. The map is not the territory, the menu's not the meal. The map is not the territory, the menu's not the meal. Yeah, as you may have guessed from that, this is going to be more of a kind of insights, looking at an idea type of video rather than an exercise. If you're interested in the exercises, definitely check out some of the other videos. I'll be linking to those in the description and at points in this, certainly at the end. And yeah, let's get into it. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, or variations on that theme. I think, although one might have some resistance to that when one looks at it through the particular lens that he was, particular definitions that he was, and also has the tools available, or some of them that he was working with and that he taught to me alongside some other, tools that I picked up along the way. It does kind of have a real ring of truth to it. But yeah, it's also something that I feel complex about, shall we say. So yeah, it seems like a juicy thing to get into on here. So let's lay out what we're talking about here. Pain is something that comes up in life to varying degrees regularly. Physical pain, emotional pain, grief, all three of those things in different knots and configurations, and it doesn't seem to be something that, while we can avoid particular individual pain sometimes, that we can avoid altogether in our lives, or that attempting to serves us particularly well. And yeah, it seems like going through that pain and really fully feeling it is one of the best things that we can do for it and for ourselves and our experience of this life. As in acknowledging it, dealing with the fact it's there, feeling it can really help to start processing it. And sometimes, taking that approach can even start to transmute it into other kinds of energy and be a way to work with it in itself. But certainly just holding space for it in that way without any expectation is a really powerful thing, and certainly pain comes along in life. But what's being meant by this, by suffering? So also when we're in pain, any of those kinds of pain actually, but especially obviously emotional pain and grief, but it does happen with physical pain too, we can find our minds start to pile a load of extra stuff on top of it, kind of extra pain. That might look like worrying about the way this is going to affect us in the future, worrying about whether we'll recover from it, worrying about whether we could have done something to change it in the past, feeling powerless, like allowing that to overtake us in other aspects of our lives, that kind of thing, getting caught in those kind of looping sort of painful worry, and just everything kind of becomes very overwhelming with that kind of thing, thought loops, I guess. And that, I think, is really what is being referred to, certainly by my old undoing teacher, as suffering in this. So it's important to kind of make that distinction there. And I guess the thing is, pain is inevitable, but how inevitable is that kind of extra pain? How inevitable is it that we go on those kind of loops and pile on extra pain on top of what we're already experiencing? And if it is possible not to, how do we go about doing that? And yeah, for most of my life I had absolutely no idea. I was absolutely enthralled to that kind of, you know, process of just getting lost in thought, suffering. You know, the moment something difficult happened to me, I would just be all in my thoughts about how that was going to affect me and how it was going to affect other people and how it was going to affect various things I cared about, and just absolutely stuck and going over and over and over those, and often making the thing itself so much worse in the process of that, you know, creating more difficulty for others through that as well. And yeah, just absolutely had no idea when people would sometimes say, oh, it would be so much easier if you could not do this. How on earth would one not do it? But what I have discovered now, I'm not going to say I never feel sorry for myself. You know, I'm a human being. But yeah, what I have discovered now are some really useful, genuine tools which enable me to, you know, kind of sidestep that kind of extra pain stuff when the difficult things come up, and to therefore process and move through the whole thing a lot more smoothly, and also places to process that real pain that does come up more effectively, which makes the whole experience less panic worthy, I guess. So I was inspired to make this video by an experience I had 3 weeks ago, coming down a mountain in Erie, Snowdonia, North Wales, with a bunch of sort of regular magical friends of mine, and we've just been doing some really lovely celebratory powerful work up on the mountain. Yeah, and as we were coming down, just a little bit of the way down, still really near the top, I slipped on some leaves and tripped over a big tree root and felt my foot go all the way back, and knew immediately, luckily landed on my arse, so at least I didn't fall down the mountain. That was helpful in this for sure, but I knew immediately that something was wrong, you know, when you just feel something really go. And I've sprained my ankle quite badly before, and it really reminded me of that. So I immediately was communicating that to people. But yeah, then suddenly it was quite different from how I think that experience would always have been for me in the past, and I guess we're going back a few years now. But I was always somebody throughout my entire life who would have just burst into tears at that situation. I can be quite good, you know, I've always been quite good in some crisis situations, but a situation like that where, you know, I'm hurt and there's potential future repercussions, and, you know, you've got the kind of social embarrassment of something like that having happened in a powerful situation too. I think I would always have just freaked out in the moment, and then once I'd got myself together enough to actually, you know, get down with help, would have just kept looping back in my mind to, oh no, I'm not going to be able to do this performance I've got coming up. Oh no, what am I going to do about this thing I'm supposed to be doing? Oh no, my mum's going to be so worried I'm supposed to be seeing her the day after I get back. You know, how am I going to get back to Brighton from Wales? You know, just thinking about all the kind of future things I wasn't going to be able to do, or that were now going to be far much harder, probably feeling sorry for myself as well, all the things that have been trickier in my life, thinking how this was going to make them trickier, you know, just everything, going over everything. And instead of that, I was able in that moment to kind of take a pause, take a moment. You know, the people around me were really encouraging of that too, which was helpful. But I was able to just calmly do that, take some breaths, figure out how I felt in my body, ask for the help that I needed, you know, some of it directly, some of it a bit more indirectly, so it almost felt like kind of manifesting a stick by saying, oh, I wish I had a stick. And then obviously, you know, a friend had a stick that he offered to me, which was so helpful. And yeah, you know, just be in that calm space where my friends could help me, accept their help. And as I went down the mountain with some of their help, I was able to, each time a thought like that would emerge, just kind of go, oh, okay, right, not now, and keep going, and know that I had the skills to do that, I could do that, I had the experience to do that, and also that I would create space later to really release all of this, so I didn't have to worry about that. And yeah, it was just a completely different experience for me, and it kind of showed me something profound about this pain and suffering thing and how that relationship has changed in my own life. And yeah, I think so much of that is down to the type of physical exercises that I share bits of on this channel, and that I go into more depth with my clients and people who support me on Patreon. I want to say a massive thank you to them as well, and it's so wonderful starting to do that kind of work, sharing these things in more depth like that, and also through regular practice of meditation, I think, and that kind of meditation where you're observing your thoughts and just allowing them to flow by, because that's what I could do going down the mountain, just focus on the task I had in hand, allow those things, you know, to be there but not get stuck in them, not identify with them, not loop in them. And yeah, it really showed me, you know, then when I did get back, you know, relatively safe and sound, you know, I did make sure I created some space to go off and have a cry later that evening, and I also had a really big cry the next time I did an undoing session, and that also really showed me how, you know, just having that space to actually fully feel and release these things is so much a part of it too, creating that space and creating those openings that allow for that. So yeah, that immediate experience, and also the sometimes frustrating, challenging, but also easier through this stuff times since while I've been healing, has brought all of this to the fore, I guess. And I wanted to share it with you because I feel like it's a really good example of how having practices that help one not to be stuck in those kind of loops of suffering, loops of thought, and that help to be able to process and release things as they come up using the body makes such a big difference in kind of key life experiences, really, I suppose. And yeah, if you're curious as a result of hearing that, you know, if you'd like to try out some of these kind of exercises, I will say for these kind of things, it's really so much about regular like practice as well. And I say consistent, but I don't necessarily, I think, you know, consistent, like I do some of this stuff every day, I'm pretty consistent with it, but I think don't be scared by the consistency. You know, when I first started meditating, I would take the odd day off and just think, well, I do meditate every day, so I'd come back to it. So you can take that kind of an approach, that's fine, but I think having that sort of regular practice makes such a big difference. But if you're curious to explore some of this, you know, a good place to start might be checking out some of the videos I've shared of exercises on here, or if you'd like to go a bit deeper, you know, check what I've got on offer on my Patreon. I'm really keen to work with more people on these things and share things, or, you know, if that's the case, or also if you feel like it's something that's calling to you but nothing there seems like quite the thing that you would want to do or the way you'd want to do it, you know, get in touch. I'll put a link to set up a exploration call with me, and we can just have a little chat over Zoom about the sorts of things that we could do and where you're up to in your life and process and practice, and, you know, the sorts of things that are making you curious, and see whether we can work on some of this stuff together. So that's really all for now, other than to say thanks again to the people who are already supporting me on Patreon, and love working with those of you that involves working with, and it's just such an exciting process getting this stuff going, and I'm really excited to see where it all goes. And if you've had some thoughts around this video, I know it could be a kind of controversial topic in some respects, definitely want to hear about that in the comments. Get down there, you know, really interested to hear your experiences of pain and suffering in this kind of way, and how different kinds of experiences of life can shift your relationship to it. And give this a like if you found it interesting at all, that really helps, and subscribe if you haven't already for more of these kind of, hopefully slightly insightful rambles, but also more importantly, exercises to actually practically explore this kind of thing. That's it for now, superstars. Thanks so much for your time, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye bye.